Welcome to the Bad Girls on Business, the podcast that makes business more fun so you want to do more of it. Here are your hostesses with the mostesses, Jennie Bellinger, Virginia Muzquiz, and Michelle Nedelec.
Hey, welcome to another sexy episode of the Bad Girls on Business, the only safe, sane, consensual podcast out there. Will be as nice, naughty, or kinky as our guests allow, and we're going to give them a safe word. It's meatloaf, because we would do anything for business, but we won't do that. And I am Virginia Muzquiz, the Referral Diva, one of the three bad girls on business, and I'm here with my bad girlfriends, Jennie Bellinger. Jennie.
Hi, everybody. In case you didn't know, I am the direct sales Domme helping you with your business into shape. And we also have with us Michelle.
Hey there. I'm your mistress in business, helping you get it up and keep it up. And of course, we're talking about revenue and profit.
And today we are joined by one of our kinky friends. Oh my God, I'm so excited to introduce this guest to you. Her name is, drumroll please, Dana Pharant. And let's learn a little bit about her. Dana is a former dominatrix, a high priestess, and a seven-figure CEO, helping successful business owners scale without the grind. So Dana, welcome to the show. We are so excited to have you here today.
Thank you, Virginia. I'm almost thinking I should have rewritten that bio just for this show, because like your audience probably wants the grind, but not in the business.
Not in the business. Well, let's
We like getting up in the business, just not like that.
Right.
Like, not like that. So yeah, we do like the hustle and the grind, but it's a whole different thing. Well, Dana, so why don't you go ahead and start us off and tell us about like your history, this dominatrix thing, and how you got into business and all that, because we're super curious about that.
Okay, so I'm going to give you like the super highlight reel. So it actually started out, I grew up in a religious cult. So from cult to dominatrix is kind of a stretch, but in leaving the cult, I had to find something that would unfuck my brain, and went through a lot of different therapies and actually found one of the most profound healing in the dungeon. So when I discovered kink and I got involved with it, then I was able to find some really amazing people who took me on this journey where we would combine, you know, the scene and the pain, reenacting what I went through, and then having an outcome that we could decide on what I wanted as an outcome. So it just profoundly changed how I moved in my body, how I lived. And that for me was what sparked where I wanted to learn the techniques. I wanted to learn how to become a dominatrix. So that sets me off on that path. I'm doing that in my personal life, little bit, you know, just enough pro work so that I know that it's a lot of work to beat people. And and then concurrent to that, I'm also, you know, a massage therapist, and I've built up a massage supply outlet, a couple of massage therapy clinics. So I've got these two pieces going. Eventually, sell off the other business, go full time into coaching, and I pull all that I've learned from the dominatrix world, all that I've learned from business, and I bring that in to helping people to get their head out of their ass so that they can grow their business and leave the grind in the bedroom. So.
I just can't even, like, the whole head out of here. I can't go there meatloaf on myself. So we had Paulina Tenor on a little while ago, and I don't know if you listened to her episode.
I did. I was like, man, she got all my material.
Yeah. So
good.
So for you, what do you think is the most empowering part? Like being a dominatrix, I suppose some people would be like, oh, well, she gets to beat people's asses and boss them around. Like, but that's not really where the power is in the process. So where did you find the empowerment in all of that? And why did you choose to be a pro dominatrix instead of a pro sub?
Oh, what a great question. Nobody's ever asked me that question. Ooh.
I'm both. So that's why I'm curious. Like, I'm like
I think I didn't know that there was the option to be a pro sub. Like that would have been a better option in some ways. But the empowerment piece for me. So yes, let me back it up because you got a lot in here. being a pro dominatrix is a high level service position because you are responsible for who is in that room. You are responsible for what they need and making sure that they get it. And yes, you are in control, but it's not about, oh, I feel like doing this, and so we're going to do it even if you don't want to. That's not the reality. So knowing that it's a high level service position, I'm really in there for the care of the other person. But at the same time, they're only going to surrender if I am owning it. If I'm really standing in the place of, I know that I have the room and I have your ass, and this is where it's going to go because this is what we've negotiated ahead of time. They're only going to surrender if I really bring it. I can't fake it. There's no faking it. And that to me is the big switch for business, is that so many people are talking about faking it till you make it. I'm sorry, that doesn't cut it. You have to become it. You have to own it. And so that's the piece that I love really introducing people to, is that side of how do you walk in a room and authentically feel like you are in charge, like you can be in charge without the like posturing and trying to put people down, but really owning it energetically. I hope I answered all the questions that you had there, Virginia.
Nice. I'd like to get into how do you take somebody from where they are to where they want to be when they don't know what that is? Because I'm having absolutely no experience in the world that you're talking about. But when I was 12 years old, my sister wanted to get me in a bar, and she looks at me and she goes, just pretend like this is our house and those are our bodyguards and you own this place. She goes, just walk in with that confidence. So I did. And of course I got in and she got ID'd and I didn't. So that was my foray into bars. Like, other than that, how do you get them to really understand what it's like to own a stage or a presence, a boardroom, a meeting, anything, without having that like in their brain? They're going, but I don't have that.
So for me, I take the approach of looking at, what's preventing somebody from stepping in. So I like the psychology and the mindset of what is going on, what's stopping you from stepping into it. But I would say, if somebody doesn't know where they want to go, what I find is that in having a conversation, in, digging in and asking those questions of, like, why does that interest you? Or what is it about that turns you off? What is it about that excites you? Whether it's in business or, in the bedroom, those kinds of probing questions allow me to get inside their head. And that usually gives me a clue as to what it is they actually want, even if they haven't articulated it. Because I find that for most people, they know what they want, but they're not willing to admit it. They're not willing to acknowledge it for themselves. And so when somebody else from the outside can come in and go, oh, gee, it kind of sounds like this is what you want. And then they're like, oh, yeah. And they light up. So
I think one of the things that's interesting from the dominant standpoint, right, is the ability to really notice, so when you're trying to get somebody to say what they want in the dungeon space, right? So you're looking for clues, and oftentimes it's the place where they shy away or where they look down, or like that you can see actual like shame come up, and you're like, oh, like the real desire lies either underneath a very thick layer of shame or a thinly veiled shame or whatever. Like, you see it. And I wonder, does that come up when you're talking to people about business? Like, do they have money shame? Do they have success shame? Do they have power shame or confidence shame? Like, where is your shame? Because I do think that, like, the thing that has grown me in the sort of experimentation of my psyche in that realm is, where do I feel shame, and when does that come up in my body? And if I know in my body that that's shame, I can look at that and say, like, well, okay, what is the underlying desire, and why was that taken away from me? Like, why was that? Who told me I can't have that? Who told me to think unproductively?
Yeah, I would definitely agree with you that those pieces where we hold back, where we feel, like you say, either a thin layer or a thick layer of shame. I love that way of phrasing it, that they are the clues of what we really want. Because if we didn't have a desire for it, and we were told that we can't have it, well, then there wouldn't end up being that conflict. But as soon as we want something and then we're told that, oh, we can't have that, we're not supposed to have that, or, it's not nice to want that, any of those things, then it creates that layer of shame. So being able to unpack it and give people permission to want what they want and have what they have and, enjoy it, all of it.
Jennie B looks like she's about to say
I know, that's why I was like, oh,
I'm like, yeah, I'm unmuting on that one. No, I definitely agree with that because, even myself, I've experienced some of those shifts in my own business in the last 5 years. So, taking that look of saying it's okay to want that thing now, it's okay to want that success and attain that success and put it out there. Because I think for a lot of business owners, or at least the people that I talk to in various realms of professionalism / business ownership, it's how do you share your successes without looking cocky or, that because that sometimes is, it's not that people have a fear of success. They have a fear of judgment for talking about their success.
Yes.
Right. So I know there's not a question in there, but I was just like, oh my gosh, yes,
Jennie, like that is it's so on the nose. For me, one of the things I really love educating people is how to welcome being judged. So as a dominatrix, as someone who's out as a dominatrix, and that I am judged constantly. And now I've learned to spin it around in my brain where the more people judge me, the more money I'm making. And so now I welcome it, right?
Well, I gotta say, when I was mentioning Bad Girls on Business, and I can't remember who introduced us off the top of my head. I have such a
I think it was
Jason Van Orden. Yeah. So, what was really interesting was he was like, yeah, I've got this perfect person for you. And I told Jennie and Michelle, and we judged you favorably, girl. We were like, we were excited. All right.
Yes.
Jennie.
No, I wanted to hop in because that's the judgment piece is something that I've been fighting with because for those who don't know, and you're one of those people, my other podcast is Badass Direct Sales Mastery, BDSM. That's how I became the direct sales Domme. And
a joke.
It was a joke initially, but now I'm getting ready to write my book, Badass Direct Sales Mastery: Confessions of a Midwestern Domme. And so now I'm putting that out there. So now I actually have to write it because somebody's going to hear this. Oh my God. But the judgment piece is something that I did fear. And I think obviously is still part of it for me. And that's what's kind of, I think, held me back. So how do you take people, obviously you, for yourself, you turn that mindset around. How do you do that with your clients when they have a fear of judgment? And I'm asking for a friend pointing at me.
Okay, let me slide you my card. You can come and see me. But a short version of this, so the highlight reel would be that we have to change the conditioning. So just like in the kink world, you have the ability to associate pain with pleasure. And the body can change its physiological reaction so that when we experience pain in a scene that is safe and consensual and all of those great things, that we actually can perceive it as pleasurable and an orgasm from pain. And so it's the same kind of conditioning, only on a mental level, to change our connection with judgment and changing it from this painful place where we make ourselves wrong to this place of, hey, that's great. And I think here's the biggest thing is that we think about the expression, all PR is good PR, right? You're getting out there, you're getting seen. All judgment is good judgment because people are talking about you. You need to be talked about in business, good or bad. You need to have exposure, not the exposures you're going to die from, but exposure. And that's what people judging you is going to do. Because here's what I see, at least for myself, because I'm kind of an extreme case in being really out there. When I go into a room and I talk about what I do and the fact that I used to be a dominatrix, the room is divided, like really dynamically divided, in which I have a lot of people who are just like shocked and trying to suck in their face. And the other bits are like, how do I sneak her my card? Because I really want to talk to her, but I don't want anybody else to know. So I really lean into being willing to be judged, because what'll happen is that those people who didn't like me, they'll be talking to me and they'll end up talking to somebody else who's like, I think I need to talk to her. And so they're going to reach out. And this is the piece, is that however we phrase it, however you want to look at it, it's spinning that around, right? Political spin at its best, that the judgment is always working in your favor. And then we can lean into it and welcome it. It's great little side story on this is that when I first got involved with kink, and I was on the submissive side, and in the kink world, there's a lot of people who use the word slut as a term of endearment.
Right.
And they're like, oh, you're such a slut. And, I really got to the place where it was like, oh, thanks. And after a while, I think it was about 4 months in, and I had somebody outside of kink say to me, oh my God, you're such a slut. And I'm like, oh, thanks. And watching their reaction when I did that was like, oh, damn, that's it. Right. And that's the other piece of the mental conditioning. When we can get to the place where we're okay with it, then go out in the world and start welcoming it. When people judge you, it's like, oh, thanks. That's so sweet of you. I need to spend less money on marketing now. I love you.
I also think that, some of that is like, basically they're just outing themselves, right? They're like,
Yeah.
just let you're like, yeah, what you're really saying to me is you wish you could unpack the heavy suitcase of shame, the bubble wrap of shame that you wear everywhere you go, that prevents you from having an honest fucking conversation with anyone that you ever meet, because you're too whatever, and your programming is really like just sucking the life out of you, and you don't even know. And you're unconsciously incompetent.
Absolutely. And for me, I teach my clients that piece as well, because that I find leads to a layer of compassion. When you can recognize like, oh my goodness, they really wish that they could do this. Wow, that must be really sad in their place. And then I have some compassion for them. And then I can lean in again to welcoming their layer of judgment, welcoming the place where they're mad at me because I'm doing what they really want to be doing.
So I want to jump into another topic, which I think it's still relevant, right? Because as much as people may be judging like, oh, they're talking about dungeons and dominatrixes and submission and everything, I think that there's something so cool in the relationship and the power dynamic between a dom and a sub, because a sub, one, they really need to know where they want to go, but it's your job as my dom to figure out where I want to go and then take me there. And isn't that essentially our job? Like, so, Michelle's having a conversation about like, what do you want Infusionsoft to actually do for you? What, what is that? She's in control of the tools of the trade, if you will. And she needs to know which tools will bring pleasure and success to the person that she's working with. The same thing with Jennie, the same thing with me, right? And the same thing with you and what you're doing. And if more people understood the truth of the DS dynamic, they would be better business people, better husbands, better wives, better parents, better whatever, because DS is not selfish. And it is not self-serving in any way ever, unless you're a domineering prick and you're going to get your ass kicked out of the dungeon for being a domineering ass.
Yeah, but
right?
that's not true BDSM. That's just abuse, and that happens everywhere.
Right. Yeah. So how do you lead your clients to understand that dynamic, the powerful relationship that they have, and what their clients are actually wanting? Like a sub actually wants the journey. So do your clients.
And so does your team. So it's not like these are two very powerful places that we want to bring that dominatrix energy, where we have a deep level of care for the person that we are serving, whether it's our client or leading in our team. And, really bringing that out, and then understanding that when we fully step in to being a powerful leader that comes from compassion, when we are really powerful and we're owning the room, then everybody else gets to relax, because they know what is expected. They know what they're supposed to be doing. They know how to get it right and get the approval, however that is, whether it's a bonus, in their pay, or, they get the results as a client. There's a real, I would say putting the person at ease by knowing where the rules are, knowing where that container is. Then, oh, I can relax because I know you've got me. That is so important. And I think that for a lot of business owners, they think that they need to cater to the client. And in fact, mostly what they need to do is let the client know where the rules are. And hey, here's how we play this game. And here's how you can win playing this game. But I'm setting the rules.
And I think that's a huge importance to understand and why confidence is so sexy as opposed to arrogance, which is such a turnoff. And it's a lot of people don't understand the difference between them, but you can definitely feel it in that when somebody is 100% confident, you just feel good in their space. You know that you're taken care of. You know that this is going to, end well.
Yeah. And they don't need to put you down to feel good about themselves. And in fact, I know so many people who I would say are extremely confident, and they tend to be the quietest person in the room. And, they don't need to be shining at the front. And yet they always get so much attention because they have this je ne sais quoi about them. And everybody's like, who are you? What are you doing? I need to know.
And I think the interesting thing, the difference between confidence and arrogance, which are often confused as the same thing, is the intention behind it, right? So much like the Christian Grey movies, like the 50 Shades of Grey, I'm like, God. Clearly that bitch never set foot in a dungeon before. She did not do her research, right? Because he was like a complete sociopathic, psychopathic, arrogant ass. And there's no rehabilitating that, only in the movies, right? And no submissive ever rehabilitated a dominant. So let's be really clear about that. So the confidence is really about the willingness to be curious, the willingness to curate an experience, and the willingness to understand the boundaries, set the boundaries, stretch the boundaries, right? So, your job as the dominant is to really put the boundaries around there, and then stretch the submissive to a bigger place. But there's a safe place. There's this really fundamental piece in that relationship that should be in all of our business relationships, whether with clients or with team. And that is, a dominant's role is to grow their submissive, and a dominant's role is to grow themselves so they can enlarge the container for the submissive, so that the submissive can grow in confidence and power and stamina. And it's this constant interplay of what our friend Scott Conway calls eternal ontological transformation, right? It's a never ending system of becoming more.
Yeah.
Preach, sister, preach.
I know. That was a mic drop on that one. I love it.
So much fun. So one last topic that I wanted to get into that now I forgot. So Jennie and Michelle, you need to.
Okay, so I want to know Dana, give us an example of one of the funnest transformations you've taken a client through.
Oh, okay. So I brag about this client all the time because she's just such a great example. So this woman, she came to me, she was doing about $250 a year in her business. She's a service-based business. She had one staff, but she was running like the proverbial chicken, doing way too many things that were completely unrelated to her business, and a doormat to her husband, to her staff, to everybody. And her and I have worked together for just over 2 years now. And she is now, the outward piece, she's now doing in 1 month what she used to do in a year. She has four great staff, and she's actually growing them to take over. She's leading, she's stepping into leadership. She's standing up to her husband and just like, well, figure that out. That's your problem. Whereas she never was before. She's just made huge changes in who she is and how she steps up. And I get to keep nudging her and moving her along, which is beautiful. I'm so excited to see the next evolution. I think she's on track for probably 5 million in the next year and a half.
Nice.
So
That's awesome.
I know. I love bragging about her.
Congratulations.
I know who my next coach is going to be.
Yeah.
Right. So when you're taking somebody through there, is it more of a coaching psychology kind of conversation that you're having? Or
it's a mix. So I'm trying to lean into this, finding this right language, because yes, there's psychology, yes, there's mindset, but then I also have over 30 years in business. So I can sometimes see where it's like, oh, you know what, we just need to tweak this strategy. I don't get into the weeds of the strategy part of it, but it's holistic. I'll even talk about, what are you doing in your health? Because I have a huge health background. I understand so many different things and they all interplay. Like, yes, there's this great piece about niching, but then there's also a great piece about if you're going to have somebody on board for what I like doing is more like the trusted advisor, where I'm with you longer term and I know you and I can call you out on your shit because it needs to. That doesn't happen in the first month. So it's a really big picture, but a lot of it is psychology for sure.
Nice. And I noticed that in my coaching, when I was doing it, although all conversations were above board, it's like, we can talk about anything you want to. We can talk about business, marketing. We can talk about erectile dysfunction. I don't give a shit. It's all a conversation that we're just having. Is that kind of how yours goes? That
absolutely
it becomes kind of, I don't want to say it becomes boring because you're just talking about business, because you got an awesome personality. It's like, I just want to take everything you have and put it into this meeting. But it really just kind of comes down to the brass tacks, if you will, of
it's whatever's getting in the way. And maybe we need to look at the fact that you haven't had sex in 3 years. Or maybe it's that we need to look at the fact that you don't drink enough water, or, you got an extra 100 pounds on you. Like, what is going on? And then, of course, what is underlying that? So I'll look at anything. I'm willing to ask all the questions. And of course, with my varied background, so many people are so comfortable to talk about anything and everything. I've been there.
Yeah, I have to say,
Dana, every word that comes out of your mouth, I feel in my body. I'm just going to say that, Jennie.
Well, I was going to say, I definitely agree with what you just said, Dana, that, one of the reasons why I have a particular company that's my favorite company to get my clients from, is because they are a company that is about women's wellness and sexual wellness and health and all of that. And what I love about working with them is because if they can talk about sex, if they can talk about all of those things that are taboo, it means everything else that we talk about in our coaching sessions are on the table. Everything's on the table. And so I have my greatest growth with my clients who are with that one particular company because nothing's off the table. I don't have to beat around the bush with people on that. And I do a lot less of beating around the bush now than I used to, because I'm like, I don't have time for you to be not successful right now. So I got to ask the question,
which bush are we beating around?
That was my question too. Thank you, Michelle Nedelec, for not making me say it.
I used to play volleyball. That was the setup for you, and Michelle just spiked that.
Yeah.
Bitch. So it's great. No, absolutely. So I think where I'm going with all of this is we can't in business just focus on that one piece of life there, because we are whole people. We have business, relationship, kids, friends, life happening around us. And so how do you help your clients incorporate that understanding? Or is that something that you just kind of do with them and then all of a sudden they realize that all their stuff's working?
It depends on the person. So some people I have to, get their trust, and then I can get in on the things that are really the issue. And other people I can speak to right out the get-go and say, hey, listen, this is what's going on. This is what I see. And this is what's keeping you stuck. So we can either address it, or you can keep pretending that that's not the problem and keep going and buying another funnel to fix your sexual trauma. It's just not going to work. Right.
I mean, I know ClickFunnels kind of suggests you might, but probably not.
Yeah. But if you have a serious sabotage going on where you're not allowed to be successful because being visible is scary as fuck, that funnel is not going to work. Infusionsoft's not going to work. I see it over and over again. Like, we have to be honest. And there's lots of people who can push past it and ignore, and then eventually it comes out in a heart attack or something interesting. But it's going to happen. You're going to have to deal with it. It's one way or another.
Amen, sister. So we're coming up on the end. So we got some housekeeping we got to do, Dana. So the first thing is, how can people get in touch with you, and what can they expect when they get a hold of you?
Okay. So LinkedIn is my social media of choice. Dana Pharant, which is spelled Pharant. I am the only one in the world. Easy to find. So you reach out to me on LinkedIn or go over to bookdana.in and we can have a chat. And that consultation is free. And we take a look at, what's working, what's not working. And from that, I can usually give you a pretty good idea of, where we've got some things that if we change them will make a significant impact in your business.
Awesome. And then Michelle has some questions for you.
Yay.
Do you have them, Michelle?
Yes, I do. And my first question is, why aren't we friends on LinkedIn?
Right.
And I'm like,
well, we are now. We are now.
Awesome. So Dana, I have some questions for you. They are, in fact, business related questions with a little twist, because of course we just can't do anything the way everybody else does them. So when it comes to your marketing, do you prefer domination or seduction?
To me, domination is seduction. The phrasing seduction to me speaks more to manipulation. So I would say domination.
Awesome. When it comes to networking, would you say that you're an exhibitionist or a voyeur?
Oh, I would say a voyeur.
Ooh. When it comes to leadership in your business, do you say that you're a lady dom or a power sub?
Oh, definitely a lady dom. Lady dom.
You is the bomb.
Sometimes
baby.
a bomb.
You is the bomb.
She the bomb.
I'm the bomb.
When it comes to having a team, do you prefer to be married to them or have mistresses?
Oh, lots of mistresses.
Nice. And in the world of entrepreneurship, do you prefer monogamy or polyamory?
Always poly.
Nice. You surprised me on the voyeur on the networking one.
Well, I do. That's where my introvert comes out. I hate networking. I really do. I'm like, yeah, I will be the one sipping the wine in the corner.
It doesn't shock me though, given your background, because here's the thing. Virginia already brought it up earlier in the conversation. A great dom is watching their sub, picking up on all those little micro expressions, all the body language, the pitch, the tone. And so for her to be a voyeur in a networking situation, she's watching to see who, like, all the body language, she's kind of ear on a couple of different conversations around her to figure out who she wants to go talk to. Because introverts and doms don't do small talk. They're going to dig
let
right.
people come
poser.
to me.
She's picking off the posers before she goes in.
Exactly.
Nice.
Okay, I have one last question. When you go to a networking event, can you point out the other doms and just go, oh yeah, I get what you're into?
Yeah, I can pick out the doms. I can pick out the posers. I can pick out the submissives, and then the people that are just cray, and you just need to avoid them.
I totally want to go to a networking event with you now.
I know.
Yeah, it's very judgy.
I don't care if it's a conference, whatever.
Hey, Dana, I know you hate networking. So, but I am going to invite you networking with me, because the way I do networking is so sexy and so not that you will fall in love with networking with me and Jennie. We just,
all right, you got it.
It's totally different. So,
well, I'm going on tour for the next year. So, hit me up with where you are. And if you have a spare bedroom,
you're in St. Louis and we'll hook you up.
All right.
Yeah. And then I'll be over and we'll, this is not for this. Okay. Jennie, take us out. Meatloaf.
Oh my God. I love this. Oh yes. Yes, we will absolutely take care of you, Dana, because that's what we do here. So everybody, listeners right now, make sure you go check out the show notes so that you can grab the direct link to Dana's LinkedIn to connect with her. Make sure you send her that message that goes along with the connection note to say that you heard her on the Bad Girls on Business podcast, so that she knows that you're actually somebody who has an idea of what they're getting into and having a conversation with her. And then what you're also going to do is make sure you go to badgirlsonbusiness.com to make sure you can check out all the information that you have, all of our other episodes, and check out the profiles of the Referral Diva, the Mistress in Business, and the Direct Sales Dom. So that way you can make sure you grab all of our information, and we even have some little gifts for you as well. So at this point, we just want to make sure stay tuned, because there's another badass episode on its way.
Thank you for listening to the Bad Girls on Business podcast. Don't forget to check the show notes for any links mentioned in this episode and for additional contact information about the guest or our hostesses. If this show got you going, we'd love to hear about it when you subscribe, rate, and review the show on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Can't get enough of the direct sales Domme, the Referral Diva, or your Mistress in Business? The Bad Girls have hidden their gift for you at badgirlsonbusiness.com. When you find the Easter egg, use the password BGOB to unlock your treasure chest of goodies.